Well, hello to all of you on this sacred day of Good Friday. What do you see when you gaze on the cross of Jesus? A few years ago, when I was stationed on the East Coast, I used to visit an elderly man in a nursing home. Frank has since died, but I came to know him over the years and we kind of struck up a friendship. He spent his last couple of years of life in a Catholic nursing home. He was usually pretty lucid, though sometimes he'd get confused for a few minutes and then he'd return to reality and laugh about his own confusion. Before I would go, Frank always wanted me to pray with him. Frank was in a typical nursing home room with 2 beds, a bath, and a bulletin board across from each bed. The bulletin board had a calendar, photos, and other items put on there by Frank's family members and the staff. One day when I was there, I noticed that someone had hung up a couple of items above the bulletin board on the wall, and they included a fairly good-sized crucifix. I remarked about those items to Frank, and he said, "Yes, Father, I asked them to hang up those items for me to see, especially the crucifix." He said, "I'm probably going to die in this bed, and I want that crucifix to be the last thing I see before I die." When I left the nursing home that day, I couldn't help but think about Frank's words regarding the crucifix. "I want that to be the last thing I see before I die." His comment has stayed with me, and I thought of it as I reflected on Good Friday today. On this sacred day, we're invited to gaze on the cross of Christ. At the Good Friday liturgy, in one of the most heartfelt rituals of the year, we come forward to venerate the cross. We bow before it, touch it, kiss it, reverence it. But what do you see when you gaze on the cross of Christ? On the face of it, of course, we see a man who's suffering an horrendous death. In his passion, Jesus entered into the darkest regions of human suffering. He tasted the bitterness of a death that was agonizing in every respect. It was death by long, drawn-out torture. As people of faith, though, we also know that when we gaze on the crucified Christ, we see the faces of many other people as well. Because the reality of Christ's passion is not just an event of the past. The passion of Jesus continues in the world today. We recognize in Christ's face, the face of all those who suffer now, crucified of today. There's something else as well, something that moves us to name this Friday in which we commemorate the Lord's passion as good. When we look at the cross of Jesus with the eyes of faith, we catch a glimpse of the depths of God's love for us. The cross shows us that in and through Christ, God went to the greatest lengths to communicate his saving, life-giving love to us. As we gaze on the Christ with arms outstretched on the cross, we can hear him say to us, "This is how much I love you. This is how important you are to me." Crucified Jesus is the one whose side was pierced with a lance in one final cruel act of rejection. Yet even there, what came forth was blood and water. It came to symbolize new life for the church. Utter rejection was meant by life and healing. Ultimately, the cross of Christ discloses the unfathomable riches of God's love for each one of us, for you and for me. Friends, may we look attentively at the cross of Christ today. May we gaze on the face of the crucified Jesus. What do you see there?